I had 5 federal agents on my doorstep at 6:30 in the morning with long guns pointed at me and my 7 children. They banged on the door and they said, open up. They did not even declare who they were that day. They didn't even ask me, could you please open the door with the FBI? They just said, open up. I went to the door, I was up. I said, who is it? They said, it's the FBI, open up. So I opened up the door peacefully. I said, please stay calm. I have 7 babies in here. They pointed M16 guns at me and my wife. My wife comes down and says, do you have a warrant for his arrest? They said, we're taking him with or without a warrant.
That doesn't sound much like a lawful law enforcement agency, now does it? Joining me now, Shawn Carney, CEO and president of 40 Days for Life, author of the book, What to Say When. Shawn, so it's really pretty obvious to me, it has been for quite some time, that the FBI has mobilized itself as the enforcement arm of the Democratic Party, and part of that enforcement arm is going after Catholics, going after pro-lifers, going after anybody they view as maybe having traditional values.
Absolutely right. Unfortunately, you're right. And Mark is our volunteer. We represent him legally. He had this incident happen that local prosecutors didn't even press charges on. And then the FBI raided his house out of nowhere, tried to charge him with the FACE Act. And of course, it was great because the jury deliberated in less than an hour, and that was the end of it. But it's not the end of it for our country, because it's not just that the FBI and the DOJ appear to be biased. This is an all-out bigotry and hatred of certain Americans, whether it be Catholics, whether it be pro-lifers. We get about 1 to 2 inquiries a week from the FBI as just pro-life volunteers across the country. They just knocked on a lady's door who volunteers for us last week and asked her about our pro-life views. It's absolutely absurd. And we want the FBI kicking down the doors of drug lords and sex traffickers. We don't want them kicking down our doors simply because they disagree with our position on abortion or our faith.
Shawn, please elaborate on these inquiries, because what you just said is going to be news to a lot of people. They're doing what now?
Yes, so we hold peaceful vigils throughout the United States. And we've never had an issue with the DOJ. We've worked closely with the FBI for many years. But when they overturned Roe v. Wade, the FBI just started approaching our volunteers out of nowhere, saying that they wanted to talk to them. And of course, our volunteers are trained to know that you don't just go meet with the FBI unless you have a lawyer with you. So we're constantly arranging these meetings, and they're not substantive. It's just harassment. They're constantly reaching out to us saying, what are you doing? Why are you here? What are your views on abortion? All of these things. And the problem is that Merrick Garland has been drugged into all these hearings and committees, and he's been grilled and he's been insulted, and he deserves all of that, but nothing has changed.
Okay, so that's basically one of the most frightening things I've heard. The Supreme Court makes a ruling that the Democrats don't like, and they send their friends at the Cheka after the pro-life movement in response to that. Do I have that about right?
Yes, and this is the problem. This sounds like some kind of pro-life or far-right, conspiracy theory, but it's actually happening. And that's the problem, is that statement that you just said is dead on accurate. And we have the timeline. We worked with the George W. Bush DOJ, no issue. 8 years of Obama, no issue with the DOJ. 4 years of Trump. And I would say even the first 18 months of Biden, no issue whatsoever. Literally like a light switch, the Supreme Court overturns Roe, and we're public enemy number one, and pro-life people and Catholics and who else, is on their list are now bad. And you didn't overturn Roe. I didn't overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which is their job to do. And so now if you have a pro-life opinion, they're treating you like some kind of a criminal.
Okay, so Mark Hauk, tell me about this, because a lot of people aren't familiar with the wonderful work you do. Mark Hauk reads Bible verses, sings praise songs outside of these abortion clinics. What is it you guys do? Explain it to people.
Yeah, we hold peaceful 40-day vigils outside of abortion facilities, and we've done it nationally and internationally since 2007. We're the largest pro-life organization in the world. We're in 1,500 cities in 64 different countries. We use free speech, and we've had no issue with that. Recently, we're obviously having to defend free speech. But Mark is one of our volunteers, one of our very committed volunteers. He's been going out and peacefully praying as part of 40 Days for Life since 2007. He's had obviously no issue with law enforcement, and he's harassed by this guy in 2021. The guy comes after his son, and he tells the guy to stop. The guy keeps coming after his son, so he shoves the guy, and the guy calls the cops. And the cops say, "Look, man, this is silly. Like this is nothing." The local prosecutor, who is pro-abortion, doesn't do anything, and it goes away. And a year later, Mark is contacted by the FBI and told that he's being charged with the FACE Act, which is a felony up to 11 years. It's absurd because he was blocking the entrance of an abortion facility, which is also absurd. He was nowhere near it. And so he won that case big time, especially after the raid. The FBI ignored a letter that our lawyer sent to the FBI. They ignored his counsel. They completely botched this. They were embarrassed in court, and they deserved it.
Shawn, I saw Nancy Mace, who I don't care for, to be honest with you, but you're nicer than I am. You don't have to say that. But I saw her go on TV, and she said this.
Do you think that your party will face any sort of electoral blowback for these bans? Do you think that your party will suffer at the polls?
Well, we suffered in 2022, and I do believe we'll suffer in 2024 if we don't have a message that shows compassion to women, both for women's rights and the right to life. You can balance the two.
What? Is that right? What she said? Is that accurate? We should stop talking about abortion. We're losing on the issue. Should we change how we talk about abortion? You wrote a book on it.
We're going to suffer. Let me tell you who's not suffering, who owned the abortion issue in the midterms. Governor Greg Abbott, where I live. Awesome pro-life governor. $150 million allocated for women who choose life. Ron DeSantis, I think he's doing pretty good politically. He owned the abortion issue. Governor Kemp owned the abortion issue. Weak Republicans like her, who have no backbone and don't know how to articulate this, will lose, absolutely. But this is the easiest issue right now, and we're winning. The overturning of Roe was a historic day. It was one of the greatest days in American history, and I think many Republicans got scared, and they don't have the confidence to look into a camera and say, there is one side that takes this issue seriously, and that is the pro-life side. There is one side that is working to provide compassionate alternatives that are free of charge to women. There is one side who don't deny science and say that somehow we're sophisticated if we do a surgery on an unborn child, or we prevent pregnant women from going on roller coasters, and at the same time can also discard them in a barbaric surgery. The pro-life side is the pro-compassion side. It is the pro-science side, and the other side won't talk about it. We shouldn't join them. They have been screaming in support of infanticide and late-term abortion, and that is a political loser. The pro-life issue really can show the heart that Republicans have, but instead they just keep making excuses for it, and the ones who are owning it are winning.
Amen. If people want to know how to talk about it, go pick up Shawn's book, What to Say When. Shawn, I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
I have great news. If you enjoyed that, I have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. Whatever I do, it'll be right there on YouTube, so go subscribe today.